Nevada is quietly folding under the weight of housing costs, a crisis that reaches deep into classrooms, hospital break rooms, and kitchen tables across the state. Today, Nevada ranks among the worst in the nation for cost-burdened renters and homeowners, a problem traced in a statewide analysis that shows average rents ballooning more than 55% in Clark County and nearly 47% in Washoe County since 2018. This is not a single headline. It is the lived reality of students, nurses, service workers, and families forced to choose between housing and basic needs. But the same report that catalogs this pain also lays out more than 20 practical policy actions: zoning reform, faster permitting, workforce investments, and even federal land strategies that could change the course of Nevada's housing future. This film follows the evidence, the people, and the policy choices that will determine whether Nevada becomes a laboratory of reform or a map of missed opportunity.
The cause is painfully straightforward. Too many people, too few places to live. Nevada's population has climbed at rates nearly 2.5 times the national average, roughly 24,000 new residents per year since 2010, while production stalled during two historic pauses, the Great Recession and the COVID era. On top of that, development faces structural constraints: federal land ownership covering the majority of Nevada, restrictive zoning that favors single-family lots, rising input costs for materials and labor, and permitting processes that stretch projects for months or years. Developers and local officials told researchers the result is predictable: supply lag that pushes prices higher, squeezes middle and low-income households, and concentrates scarcity where it hurts most. The Gwynn Center frames these constraints as a solvable mismatch if policy aligns with capacity.
Numbers become people when you meet someone like Kate, a 22-year-old UNR student whose housing is a ledger she checks weekly. She's lived in dorms, shared rooms, and now a 4-person apartment where a single bathroom and $2,700 rent are split between roommates, a survival strategy for students across the state. The Gwynn Center's analysis shows a brutal mismatch. A 1-bedroom in Nevada now demands an annual income around $47,800, a 2-bedroom about $58,200. Incomes out of reach for workers in food service, admin support, transportation, and sales, who often earn under $42,000 per year. The result: gainful employment no longer guarantees stable housing. This is the intersection of aspiration and structural pressure that forces people to patch together precarious housing arrangements.
The Gwynn Center doesn't stop at diagnosis. It lists more than 20 policy options that span zoning reform, expedited permitting, construction workforce expansion, landlord reporting reforms, tenant protections, and strategies to open federal lands for development. Legislators in Carson City have introduced over 30 housing-related bills this session, and the governor has proposed streamlined permitting and a $1 billion push for attainable housing units backed by state infrastructure financing. At the same time, the Las Vegas market shows signs of moderation. Recent market data points to a more balanced market with modest dips or flattening in median prices, higher inventory, and stronger buyer leverage, a context that creates a crucial window for policy to translate into real construction and affordability gains. The choices made now will determine whether supply can actually catch up.
Money is the mechanism that can turn policy into houses, but the report shows Nevada needs creative financing at scale. The state's playbook spans public-private partnerships, use of the Nevada Infrastructure Bank to leverage low-cost borrowing, targeted subsidies for deeply affordable units, and an expanded use of federal low-income housing tax credits to attract developers to lower-margin projects. Local strategies include density bonuses and fee waivers to close the gap between market returns and the cost of building workforce housing, while a layered approach combining state grants, tax credits, and municipal gap financing creates a viable pro forma for affordable builders. Importantly, financing alone won't fix the problem without faster permitting and predictable rules. The two must move together so capital reaches shovel-ready sites, not stalled paper plans.
One of the most avoidable barriers is time. Long, uncertain permitting and protracted entitlement processes add months or years and millions of dollars to a project's cost. The reports document municipal review queues and overlapping approvals that force developers to factor risk premiums into pricing or to withdraw altogether. Promising reforms include clear permitting timelines, one-stop review portals that consolidate building, fire, and utility approvals, and early community engagement to reduce later appeals. Nevada's lawmakers and local building departments can adopt predictable checklists and digital permit tracking to compress review cycles, changes that studies show reduce cost overruns and attract builders back into denser, mixed-income products. Faster permits mean lower holding costs, smaller financing stacks, and ultimately lower rents and prices for households. Even with financing and faster permits, the physical cost of building, labor shortages, material price volatility, and rising trade wages keeps many projects on the margins. The Las Vegas Market Brief highlights higher input costs and contractor scarcity that lengthen schedules and elevate bids, particularly for multifamily projects that require specialized trades. Solutions include investing in apprenticeship programs, incentivizing prefab and modular construction to cut labor hours on site, and public support for workforce training tied to housing projects, measures that shrink timelines and lower per-unit costs. When supply-side investments target both the balance sheet and the workforce pipeline, Nevada can convert permit approvals into completed units at scale, rather than permit-only progress. The reports converge on a simple test: set measurable targets, align financing, and shorten approval timelines, then track outcomes. Recommended near-term actions include: 1. Declare a state target for attainable units over 5 years, tied to budgeted gap financing. 2. Mandate predictable permitting SLAs and launch a statewide one-stop portal pilot. 3. Scale workforce training and modular pilot programs linked to funded projects. And 4. Prioritize converting publicly controlled parcels to mixed-income development through transparent RFPs. The Las Vegas data suggests a narrow window. Slowing price momentum and rising inventory create an opportunity to convert policy into production. If Nevada moves deliberately, the state can demonstrate how coordinated policy, finance, and construction practice can deliver homes at scale and shift the story from crisis to solution.
Policy solutions must protect people as well as create supply, and the report surfaces tenant protections as a central lever for fairness. Nevada's summary eviction process, which currently requires tenants to file first in many cases, and reports of predatory landlord practices, have pushed lawmakers to consider measures including tenant reporting of on-time payments, limits on bulk corporate purchases, fee caps, and restoring protections for seniors and low-income residents. Advocates argue these steps reduce displacement and stabilize tenancies while structural supply reforms take hold. Critics counter that stronger tenant rules should be paired with incentives for landlords to maintain units. The Gwynn Center highlights tenant regulation and better landlord engagement alongside supply-side reforms as complementary, not competing policies that can reduce churn, lower enforcement costs, and protect vulnerable households.
Fixing Nevada's supply mismatch requires land policy. The Gwynn Center spotlights zoning reform, reuse of vacant parcels, and better access to federal lands that together increase buildable acreage. Inclusionary zoning, requiring or incentivizing affordable units in new developments, and community land trusts that hold land for long-term affordability are highlighted as proven approaches elsewhere that could anchor mixed-income neighborhoods here. The report also points to public land conversion and expedited redevelopment of vacant commercial sites as near-term supply sources, but it warns that converting federal land could take years of congressional action. In short, Nevada must activate multiple land levers simultaneously: local zoning, municipal surplus parcels, and long-term land trust stewardship to expand truly affordable inventory. Getting homes built means aligning incentives for builders and reducing execution risk. The Las Vegas Brief notes builders are offering strong year-end incentives now, a sign they're motivated but constrained by construction costs. And the Gwynn Center recommends pilots that reduce developer risk, density bonuses, fee waivers, expedited permitting for projects that include workforce or attainable units, and direct gap financing. Prefab and modular pilot programs paired with apprenticeship commitments can shorten schedules and lower labor risk while creating local jobs. The report stresses measurable pilot goals, per-unit cost targets, time-to-build reductions, and workforce hires, so policymakers can iterate quickly and scale what works. If permits become predictable and builders see stable returns, the pipeline converts from paper to occupancy.
Las Vegas's shifting microtrends matter for how fast policies translate to affordability. The market brief shows inventory rising, about 3.9 months of supply in August 2025, with more homes sitting without offers and condos showing resilient demand, a sign the market has moved toward balance and buyer leverage. Condos and townhomes posted a median near $298,000 in the snapshot, while single-family median prices sit near the $480,000 area, segmented dynamics that favor targeted production of smaller, denser product types. Increased days on market and builder incentives give policymakers an opening to accelerate attainable projects because buyers and builders are both more flexible, a temporary alignment that should be exploited with speed and precision. Policy and finance matter, but building enough homes depends on consent, and consent is not automatic. The reports document common neighborhood concerns: traffic, school capacity, aesthetics, and perceived property value impacts, worries that fuel NIMBY opposition to denser projects. Effective engagement starts early: clear visuals, community benefits agreements, local hiring promises, and design that respects neighborhood scale. The Gwynn Center recommends structured early outreach and demonstration projects that show neighbors what density can look like when tied to parks, retail, and quality design. When communities see tangible benefits, not just theoretical numbers, opposition falls and projects move faster. That shift from adversarial hearings to collaborative design can be the difference between approval and years of delay.
The report points to practical pilots and case studies, both local and national, that illuminate what scales. Successful examples tie together three things: a predictable permitting window, gap financing that makes lower rent units economics work, and local workforce capacity. In other regions, inclusionary zoning paired with density bonuses has produced persistent mixed-income streets, while modular pilot projects cut build times by a third and reduced labor risk. Nevada's Las Vegas brief shows builder incentives and rising inventory creating a testing ground for similar pilots. Small clusters of attainable units built with state gap funding, modular methods, and community hiring requirements can prove the model, drive down costs, and create political cover for larger-scale adoption. These are not abstract prescriptions, but replicable, measurable experiments.
If targets matter, measurement matters more. Both reports urge a transparent statewide dashboard that tracks a short list of leading indicators: permits issued, time to permit, units started and completed by affordability tier, per unit public subsidy, local hires from workforce programs, and eviction, household, and churn rates. Displaying these indicators monthly, with county and municipal breakdowns, helps officials adjust incentives and proves which pilots are working. The dashboard should be public-facing, machine-readable, and paired with quarterly policy scorecards so legislators and advocates can see progress in concrete terms. Accountability flips politics. When results rise with clear evidence, opposition fades, budgets get justified, and programs can scale.
Financing timelines must match construction timelines, and Nevada has tools to do that if policymakers coordinate. The reports recommend sequencing gap financing through state bonds and the Nevada Infrastructure Bank, aligning low-income housing tax credits with state grants, and using short-term bridge loans to get pilots to shovel-ready. Federal programs, home investment partnerships, ARPA allocations, and HUD demonstration grants can be layered to reduce per-unit subsidies and crowd in private capital. Importantly, bond-funded programs need clear repayment and measurement pathways so taxpayers see returns in homes and lower shelter costs. When fiscal tools are sequenced well, projects move from concept to completion without gaps that stall cash flow or construction.
Nevada's housing crisis is not inevitable. It is a policy and capacity problem with clear, fixable parts. The state report lays out the architecture: set measurable targets, mobilize layered financing, shorten permitting timelines, invest in workforce and modular pilots, and protect tenants while unlocking land. Las Vegas's current market moderation gives leaders a rare window to pilot and prove models that can scale statewide. The tools are practical, the levers are known, and the politics can shift when results are visible. This film doesn't offer a single cure, but a playbook: small, measurable experiments that reduce risk, learn fast, and expand what works. The final test will be simple to read on any public dashboard: more homes started, faster permits, more local hires, and fewer families spending half their income on shelter. If Nevada acts now, it can convert crisis into an example of how coordinated policy, capital, and community can deliver homes at scale.